Hey, what's up? This is Doug with Design 8 Studio. I've bought several tools and different things from Vevor, and I've always been happy. Up until now, everything I got from them I paid for with my own money. This is the first time that they reached out to me and asked me if they could send me a laser engraver free of charge if I would just simply make a video about it. They're not sponsoring this video, and they don't have any editorial control over the video itself. At the time when they asked me to do the video, I think this 5-watt diode laser was selling for about $205. But as of when I checked just now, it's selling for quite a bit less than $200. It is high quality, very well thought out. It's very well packaged. They use these hard cardboard corner pieces to reinforce the package. Everything is packed in foam really well. And the instructions were really clear, very easy to follow. Of course, I've put together a diode laser or two in the past, so perhaps someone who's not used to it might need a little bit more time, but it went together for me very quickly. And if you've never put one together, maybe this video will help you. Now, from start to finish, I assembled the thing in something like 58 minutes and 55 seconds. It was just under an hour. And that was with me pausing every now and then to reposition the thing so the camera could hopefully see it and to show off the things. One of the things I like about the assembly is that the steps are numbered, and all of the screws and hardware for each step are in bags that have the matching number. So for example, the screws or bolts that you need for step 1 are in a bag labeled step 1. That's just tremendous. These nice hefty screws work to assemble the frame. A handy trick is that you can tighten it up and then loosen it just a hair, and then put the frame on a flat surface and let the flat surface help you to get the aluminum extrusions aligned. And that trick works everywhere except where one of the end stop switches is hanging down. But if I would have just thought about it, I could have flipped that end stops. I could have flipped the whole frame upside down so that end stop switch was pointing up instead of pointing down. But at the moment, how I got around it was just simply putting that end stop switch out off the edge of my assembly table, which is also my CNC table. The first little thing I did wrong was putting that gantry on the wrong end, and after I got it on the right end, it went in perfectly. That same end stop switch keeps you from putting it on the wrong end. Just look at the picture to see which way it goes. Another thing that's nice is these feet. They're held on by one short screw in the corner and two longer screws off to the side. And if you try to put one on backwards, you can get the two outside screws in, but not the inside screw. And you have to flip it in the right direction so that all three screws match. Ask me how I know. Matter of fact, this next foot, no, not this one, but the next one, I think. Or maybe it's the last one. The last foot that I went to put on, I accidentally put it backwards. In the left front corner where the machine homes to, instead of a regular foot, you have the box with the control board in it, and the wiring and the emergency stop button. Here's the other foot that I did put on correctly. And then finally, this next foot, you'll see I put it on backwards. Couldn't figure out at first why I couldn't get the last screw to go in, and then realized I had it on backwards. Yep, you can see it backwards clear as day. And I'm figuring it out now. I'm hoping that I can show you this video basically uninterrupted, even with all my foibles and mistakes. not only for the benefit of helping someone else not make mistakes, but just kind of, honesty in showing how easy it is to put together and any issues that are a challenge. One issue that confused me a little bit is I couldn't tell if this drag chain was to attach to the top of the gantry or the bottom. There are two holes that look like they were for a drag chain. Turns out they were for the X-axis drag chain, not the Y-axis drag chain. And then I wondered if I was supposed to take the two top screws out that hold the gantry together. And in fact, I did take them apart and then realized that's not where they go. I also put it together as much as possible using only the tools that they sent. And the only tools I had to use that weren't sent by them were some side cutters to snip at that zip tie. And I used an X-Acto knife a little bit. About now, I'm looking at the instructions and figuring out that I wasn't supposed to take those screws out of the gantry and that there are screws at the bottom of this plate for attaching this end of the drag chain. Here in a moment, I'll pull it up to the camera so you can see two small screws attaching it there. Very nice drag chains. They come with the wires and cables already pre-fed into them. There's a drag chain for both the Y that I'm putting on now and the X that I'll put on in a moment. The amount of tension in the eccentric nuts on those V-roller wheels was already at the proper degree of tension from the factory when I slid it on. It moves smoothly with no slop. As far as I can tell, the quality control is on point, and the engineering of the design of this. It's a CNC machine. For some reason, when the CNC carries a laser, we don't call it a CNC machine, we call it a laser. But it's a CNC machine, but a diode laser is a small, lightweight tool. You don't need massive overkill on the engineering of this as far as massive weight or massive strength, such as you might see on a CNC machine that carries a large, heavy-duty spindle. You really don't need that for this, and you just want something that's solid and good enough. And this is really just right in the sweet spot. It's a nice, well-built frame, plenty beefy enough for this application. Still lightweight. The size is, I think, just about perfect at 410 millimeters by 400 millimeters. That's something like 16 and a quarter or 16 and 3/8 or something by about 15.9 inches. That's a great size. This thing's not too huge, not too bulky, easy to store in a corner of the room when it's not in use, and yet plenty big enough to do practically everything you would want to do. And remember, there are ways to tile things, so if you're having to engrave something really large, you could perhaps tile part of it, and then with careful realignment, you might have to use some kind of alignment pins or something, but you could then engrave another part of it tiled in another pass. The belts go on just like you'd imagine. The one belt on the X-axis gantry comes pre-installed when you pull it out of the box. There are two Y-axis stepper motors, one on each side. They each get a belt, and those are the two belts you install. The belt goes over the toothed pulley and under the two V-groove roller wheels. It sticks out a little slot in the end for excess, and then a little T-nut tightens in. In order to get that T-nut tightened in, I had to push down with the X-Acto knife and turn it because the belt itself was offering a little bit of resistance. Now this attachment arm for the laser diode itself, I mistakenly thought it had the screw holes for the thumb screws on both sides. If I'd have paid closer attention to the drawing, the diagram, and the instructions, I could have seen that the thumb screw holes are only on one side. So I thought I was going to put one thumb screw on each side, and turns out that's not correct. You need the thumb screws on the other side, or else they block the machine from being able to home properly. So you'll see, not during this initial assembly, but after I got everything put together and actually went to home the machine, I figured out that a thumb screw sticking out to the left was preventing the machine from homing. So it was a quick fix. Just had to loosen the thumb screws, take the diode back out, and then take out the 4 screws holding that little mount, flip the mount around, and reattach it. One of the things that you have to figure out is where to plug in each of these little wiring pigtails. They're all located closely to where they need to go. So as I mentioned, I plugged the diode in and installed it, only to find out later that I had the thumb screws on the wrong side. Here you see me trying to put a thumb screw on the right side, only to find out that both of them go on the same side. Now that little hood you just saw me attach, that gets dropped down almost onto the material. They have an ingenious way of getting the laser focused. You put the material that you want to engrave or cut underneath the laser. You loosen the 2 thumb screws, and you put a chunk of acrylic. There I'm saying, hey look, the instructions say this is compatible with Lightburn, which is very cool. There are also instructions for some free GRBL cutter software, but I have Lightburn. I love Lightburn. I guess everybody who has Lightburn loves it. And so if you've not purchased a license for Lightburn, there is a free trial, and if you try it, you will like it, and you'll want to throw your money at them and say, please give me a license. One thing I like about them is they're not on a subscription plan. If you buy a license, you can use that license for as long as you want to. They do like software developers used to do in the old golden age of software, when if you wanted people to upgrade, you actually gave improvements that made it worth it for them to upgrade. I hate this extortionary subscription software as a service model. And some experts are saying that with the advent of more successful AI, software as a service will die off. I hope that the subscription model does not last forever. I remember the good days before that. But anyway, Lightburn is not a subscription. You pay for license, you get that license, and you get a period during which you get free updates. And if after that period expires, you want to continue getting updates, or you see some new feature that you like to have, then you can pay a modest fee to go up to a higher level. But it's just really tremendous software, really great, well made, and works with a wide variety of laser machines, including, thankfully, these some of these little diodes are made with a control board that is compatible with Lightburn. And speaking of compatible with Lightburn, let me show you how easy it is to tell Lightburn that I want to connect a new device. My USB is connected, the device is turned on, I tap on devices, I tap find my laser. It says make sure you're connected by USB. I click next. It searches. It finds a GRBL compatible device. I click next. Verify the size, cuttable area. I type in a name and verify the size. Click next. And it wants to know, does it home to the front left? I say yes. And congratulations, that's it. Hit finish. And I've now got a second laser in my list. And boom, it automatically resizes the design space to fit the cuttable area of the laser. Okay, so before I try to lay out something in Lightburn to engrave, I first need to get the laser in focus. Now they have a nice convenient way of focusing the laser. You simply put the item that you plan on engraving underneath the laser. Then you put the laser focusing sheet of acrylic. They call it a film in the manual. You put it on the material, then you loosen the screws, drop the laser onto the focus, tighten the screws, and in my case that means I need to move one of the thumb screws to the bottom hole. And then you can simply lift and remove the focusing film, and you are at the correct thickness. All right, over here, I'm going to go to light burn, import. I can shrink this graphic down. The piece I'm getting ready to cut is 90 by 54.7. So I'm going to put that piece that I just drew down near here. And I'm going to take the size of this down now. If I zoom in, I can select both of these items and I can center them vertically and horizontally. And I can set this outer shape to something different and tell it that it is not to be outputted. And I need to home the machine. Okay, we're on USB. Now it's homing. All right, I'm going to put my safety glasses on and see if I can figure out how to get something positioned over. Let me try framing the job. Okay. All right, I think that I've got it centered on that piece. So I'm going to set the frame back to not outputting, and I've got a speed of 100 and a power of 20. I have no idea how that is going to do on engraving, but let's just start this and see how it does. Oh, I've got it not in engraving mode, I've got it in line mode. Okay, well that's all right. I'll change it to engraved mode. All right, I've now got it changed to a fill mode with a speed of 100 and a power of 20. So let's see how this does. Okay, so considering that that power setting is only 20, I gotta feel like that's some pretty impressive engraving for that low of a power setting and for that high of a speed. Remember, this is a 5-watt laser. They also sell a 10-watt and a 20 watt, I believe. I'm going to put another piece next to this so I can keep the location saved. I'm going to pull this out so I can show it to you. That's pretty good. I'm going to flip this over now. And I'm going to change it to where it's filling in the inside of the letters instead of doing a reverse knockout. And I'm going to up the power and speed. I'm going to up the speed from 100 to 200 and up the power from 20 to 50. And we'll see how that does. And start. Again, this is at a speed of 200 and a power setting of 50. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with the quality of that engraving. The cuttable area, the engravable area, usable space on this thing is pretty impressive at 410 millimeters by 400 millimeters. That's about 16 inches by just shy of 16 inches. So that's a pretty good engravable area. That looks great. Now, they didn't send an air assist kit, and I also don't have any kind of shroud hooked up. Otherwise, I would try to video how well this thing can cut through thin materials. At just 5 watts, it's not going to be able to cut through thick stuff, but it can cut through some stuff. But if you're interested, this is a phenomenal laser machine. Very easy setup, very straightforward. The directions were very clear and easy to follow. Vevor has been a name brand that I have come to trust. I bought quite a few tools and things from them, and I've always been pleased. And if you're just looking at getting into laser engraving, or you need a diode for engraving in addition to some other laser that you have for other purposes, this is a great machine to get. Vevor 5-watt diode laser. You can get it at vevor.com. Until the next video, this is Doug with Design 8 Studio, and I wish you happy making.